I've always believed in signs. Abuela taught me that before the cataracts stole her sight. Back when she still read palms in the market and warned neighborhood girls about men with silver tongues and empty hearts. She'd trace the lines on my small hands and whisper, "Mija, the world speaks if you listen. A crow at dawn, a door that won't open. Blood where it shouldn't be." That morning, the sign came in the form of a single white rose. It was lying on the doorstep of my apartment, a shoebox studio in a building where the elevator hadn't worked in 3 years, and the landlord spoke only in eviction threats. The rose was beautiful, pristine white petals that should have looked pure. Except they weren't. Dark red streaks ran along the edges like veins, like someone had dipped them in fresh blood. My heart slammed against my ribs. I knew what it meant. In Mateo's world, in the world I'd been stupid enough to step into 6 months ago, flowers weren't romance. They were messages. White roses meant purity, innocence. Blood meant violation, warning, we know where you sleep. I stared at it for 3 full breaths, my hand frozen on the doorframe. Then I crushed it beneath my sneaker and walked away. Some signs you don't ignore. You just refuse to let them own you. The Valdez estate sat behind 12-foot walls, topped with security cameras that tracked movement like predator eyes. I'd been blindfolded the first time I came here, told it was standard procedure for high-profile clients. I'd needed the money so badly I would have agreed to cook blindfolded permanently. Abuela's medical bills had been drowning me. Then her funeral costs. Then the loans I'd taken from men who smiled with too many teeth and called the interest rate flexible. I'd been 3 weeks from selling everything I owned, including my body, if it came to that, when the agency called. Private chef position, excellent pay, discretion required. I should have known better. But desperation makes you deaf to warning bells. Now, 6 months later, I knew exactly what kind of house this was. I knew the man who owned it had more blood on his hands than a surgeon, except he never saved anyone. I knew the other staff, the ones who lasted. Never asked questions, never made eye contact with the men in expensive suits who came and went like ghosts. And I knew I had to get out. Today. Before the Salazars decided a dead chef was worth the message it would send. The security at the gate was heavier than usual. 3 men instead of 1. All of them watching my beat-up Honda like it might explode. One of them, Raphael, who usually waved me through with a lazy smile, stepped forward and gestured for me to roll down my window. "Morning, Carolyn." His voice was tight. "Morning." I kept my face neutral, but my pulse was hammering. Something wrong. "Just be careful today. Stay in the kitchen. Don't go near the south wing." The south wing, where Mateo held his meetings, where decisions were made about who lived and who disappeared. "Got it," I said, and drove through before he could see my hands shaking on the wheel. The kitchen was my sanctuary. Industrial-grade stainless steel, 6-burner range, a spice cabinet I'd organized by region and heat level. This was the one place in the estate that felt like mine, even though I knew better. Nothing here was mine, not the food I cooked, not the space I worked in, and definitely not the illusion of safety. I started prep work on autopilot. Chicken marinating in lime and garlic, onions and peppers for sofrito, fresh tortillas because Mateo's men turned feral for anything that reminded them of home. My resignation letter was already written. I'd done it last night, sitting on my apartment floor with a pen that kept running out of ink, rewriting it 4 times because I didn't know how to quit a job that felt more like imprisonment. "Mr. Valdez, thank you for the opportunity to work in your home. Due to personal circumstances, I must resign effective immediately. I will not be returning after today." Caroline Morales formal, cold. No explanation, because what could I say? "I'm leaving because I heard you planning to murder 30 people. And some of them will be children. And I can't keep cooking your meals while you drown neighborhoods in blood." I folded the letter once and set it beside the espresso machine, where he always came first thing in the morning, still half asleep, hair disheveled in a way that made him look almost human. Almost. My duffel bag was already packed in my car. I'd leave during the afternoon lull, when most of the staff took their break and the house fell quiet. Slip out the service entrance. Drive until the estate disappeared in my rearview mirror. I was slicing tomatoes when I felt him. Matteo had this way of entering rooms without sound. Like gravity just shifted, and suddenly he was there. I didn't turn around, but every nerve in my body lit up in warning. "You're here early," he said. His voice was low, rough from sleep. It did things to me I hated myself for. Prep takes time. I kept my eyes on the cutting board, focused on the rhythm of the knife. Thunk, thunk, thunk. I could feel him watching me. He always watched me. Had from the very first night. When I'd served him carne asada, and he'd stared at me like he was trying to figure out if I was threat or prey. 6 months, and I still didn't know which I was. "You seem tense," he said, moving closer. I could smell his cologne now, something expensive and clean that didn't match the violence he carried. "Just focused." "Caroline." The way he said my name, like he was tasting it, like it meant something, made my hand still on the knife. Look at me, I shouldn't have. But my body betrayed me, turning before my brain could stop it. Matteo Valdez was beautiful in the way dangerous things are. Tall, broad-shouldered, with sharp cheekbones and storm-gray eyes that missed nothing. His jaw was dark with stubble. His shirt unbuttoned at the collar. Sleeves rolled to reveal forearms covered in ink. Symbols and dates and names I'd never asked about. He looked tired, more tired than usual. "Are you all right?" he asked. And the genuine concern in his voice nearly broke me. "No," I wanted to scream. "I'm terrified. I found a blood-marked rose on my doorstep, and I know what it means, and I know you won't protect me forever, and I can't stay here waiting to become collateral damage." "I'm fine," I said instead. His eyes narrowed. He didn't believe me. He never believed me when I lied. "If something's wrong, nothing's wrong." I turned back to the cutting board, my movements sharp. "I just have work to do." Silence, heavy and suffocating. Then he left without another word, and I finally allowed myself to breathe. The hours crawled by. I cooked lunch for 15 men. Carnitas and rice and pico de gallo that would have made Abuela weep with pride. Served it without making eye contact. Retreated to the kitchen while they ate and talked in low voices about shipments and territories and names that meant nothing to me. At 2:30, the house went quiet. This was it. I untied my apron with shaking hands, folded it neatly on the counter, and grabbed my keys from the hook by the service door. My heart was pounding so hard I thought I might pass out. Just walk. Don't run. Don't look back. I made it 3 steps into the hallway. "Not yet, Carolyn." I froze. Every muscle locked. He was standing at the end of the corridor, barefoot, shirt unbuttoned, looking at me like I'd just committed treason. Maybe I had. "Matteo, you were leaving." It wasn't a question. His voice was dangerously calm. "Without a word. I left you a letter." "A letter?" He laughed, a short, bitter sound, and started walking toward me. Each step was measured, predatory. "You were going to walk out of here with a letter. I have the right. You have the right to be dead." He was in front of me now, close enough that I had to tilt my head back to meet his eyes. "The Salazars know where you live, Caroline. They left you a gift this morning, didn't they?" My blood went cold. "How did you? I know everything that happens to you." His hand came up slowly, carefully, until his fingers wrapped around my throat. Not squeezing, just there, his thumb pressing against my racing pulse. "Every threat, every shadow, every fucking rose on your doorstep." "Then you know I can't stay." My voice came out strangled. "They'll come for me eventually. And you think leaving will save you?" His eyes blazed. "You think I'd let you walk into their hands? It's not your choice." I didn't get to finish. He kissed me like the world was ending. His mouth crashed against mine, fierce, consuming. 6 months of restraint shattering in one brutal second. His hand tightened just slightly on my throat, not to hurt, but to hold, to claim, to say mine without words. His other arm banded around my waist, pulling me flush against him until I could feel every hard line of his body. I should have pushed him away, should have screamed, fought, run. Instead, I kissed him back. God help me, I kissed him back like I'd been starving for this. For him, since the first night he'd looked at me like I was something more than staff. My hands fisted in his shirt, pulling him closer even as my mind screamed that this was wrong, dangerous, the worst possible mistake. When he finally pulled back, we were both breathing hard. His forehead pressed against mine, his eyes closed like he was in pain. "You're not leaving," he whispered, and it sounded like a prayer and a threat all at once. "Not tonight, not ever. Mateo, the war already found you, Caroline." His eyes opened, and what I saw there terrified me. Obsession, possession. Something wild and desperate that had no place in a man known for ice-cold control. "And I'll burn this entire fucking city to ashes before I let them take you." He didn't let me go. His hand slid from my throat to the back of my neck, fingers tangling in my hair, holding me in place while his eyes searched mine. Looking for what? Surrender, fear, some sign that I belonged to him now. "I can't stay here," I said, but my voice had lost its edge. My body was still pressed against his, still humming from that kiss, and we both knew I was lying. "You can. You will." He released me slowly, like he didn't trust himself to let go completely. "This isn't a request, Caroline. So I'm a prisoner now." Anger flared hot in my chest. Welcome, familiar, easier than whatever else was burning between us. "You're protected." He stepped back, creating space that somehow felt worse than his closeness. "There's a difference." "Not to me." His jaw tightened. For a moment, I thought he might argue. Instead, he pulled out his phone, typed something quickly, and pocketed it again. "What did you just do?" "Your apartment is being cleared as we speak. Everything you own will be here by tonight." My breath caught. "You can't just." "I can, I did." His voice was flat, final. "The Salazars know where you lived, Caroline. Past tense. That address is burned. If you'd made it out that door, you'd be dead before sunset." "You don't know that." "Yes, I do." He moved to the window, staring out at the grounds with his hands in his pockets. When he spoke again, his voice was quieter. "They sent the rose as a courtesy. A warning that you're marked. The next message won't be flowers." My stomach turned. "Why? I'm nobody. I just cook." "You cook for me." He turned back, and something in his expression made my chest tighten. "You exist in my space, in my home. That makes you leverage. I didn't ask for this." "Neither did I." The words hung between us, heavy with meaning I didn't want to examine. "So what now?" I asked. "You lock me up? Keep me here like some guest wing, east side." He was back to business, cold and controlled. "Private suite, bathroom, sitting room, everything you need. Except freedom. Except danger." His eyes met mine. "I won't apologize for keeping you alive, Caroline. Even if I don't want to be kept." Something flickered across his face. Hurt, maybe, or anger. It was gone too fast to read. "You'll thank me when this is over." He walked past me toward the door, then paused. "And Caroline, don't try to run again. Next time, I won't be gentle about stopping you." Then he was gone, leaving me alone in the hallway with the taste of him still on my lips, and a future I hadn't chosen closing in around me like a fist. The guest wing was obscene. King-sized bed with silk sheets. Marble bathroom with a tub big enough for 3 people. Walk-in closet already filled with clothes in my size. Designer labels I'd never heard of. All in colors that suited my skin tone. How long had he been planning this? I sat on the edge of the bed, hands shaking, trying to process what had just happened. The kiss, the claim, the casual way he'd erased my entire life with a phone call. "You're protected." The words tasted like lies. A knock at the door made me jump. "Come in," I called, expecting Mateo. Instead, a woman entered, mid-50s, silver hair pulled back severely, wearing all black. She carried a tray with food and water. "Mr. Valdez thought you might be hungry," she said in accented English. Her eyes were kind but cautious. "I'm Rosa, head of household staff. I know, we've met. In the kitchen, usually." She'd always nodded politely and kept her distance. Rosa set the tray on the side table. "He asked me to inform you that dinner is at 7. He expects you to join him." "And if I refuse?" A small, sad smile. "Then he will eat alone and blame himself for upsetting you. Men like Mr. Valdez. They do not know how to ask for things gently. Men like him shouldn't ask at all. They should let people make their own choices." Rosa paused at the door. "Perhaps. But in this house, there are no choices that do not carry consequences. Sometimes the cage is safer than the wilderness, mija. Even if we hate admitting it." She left before I could respond. I stared at the food, chicken soup still steaming, with vegetables cut exactly the way I would have done it. Had he told them, or had he paid attention to details so small I'd never thought to hide them? I didn't eat, couldn't. Instead, I paced the room like an animal, looking for exits I knew didn't exist. The windows overlooked the grounds, beautiful, manicured, surrounded by walls. The door had no lock on the inside, a gilded cage, just like Rosa said. At 6:45, another knock. "I'm not coming to dinner," I called out. The door opened anyway. Mateo stood there in a fresh suit, looking every inch the mafia boss, except for his eyes, which held something almost invulnerable. "You didn't eat," he said, glancing at the untouched tray. "I'm not hungry." "You're angry." Brilliant observation. He exhaled slowly, like I was testing his patience. "Caroline, I need you to understand." "No." I rounded on him, months of frustration boiling over. "You need to understand. I'm not yours. I don't belong to you. You can't just decide my life for me because it's convenient, or because you think you're protecting me, or because you... Because I what?" He stepped into the room, closing the door behind him. "Say it." "Because you think one kiss gives you ownership." "That's not what I think." "Then what?" I was shouting now, didn't care. "What am I to you, Mateo? Staff, property, some toy you get to keep because you're powerful enough to take whatever you want? You're the first thing I've wanted to keep alive." The words exploded out of him, raw and desperate. His control cracked, just for a second, and I saw beneath it years of loss, of choosing death over attachment, of building walls so high nothing could reach him. Until me. "I don't know what to do with that," I whispered. "Neither do I." He dragged a hand through his hair, destroying its careful styling. "I've spent 10 years making sure I wanted nothing. No weaknesses, no soft spots. And then you walked into my kitchen and looked at me like I was human and I..." He stopped, breathed. "I can't let you die because of that. So I have to live as your prisoner?" "You have to live. The how is negotiable." I laughed, bitter and broken. "Nothing about this feels negotiable." "Then tell me what you need." He moved closer but didn't touch me. "Tell me how to do this without destroying you." "You can't." My voice cracked. "Because even if you mean well, even if you think this is protection, I'll grow to hate you for it. And maybe that's what you deserve." Something in his face shuddered. He nodded once, sharp, like I'd confirmed something he'd always suspected. "Maybe it is," he said quietly. Then he turned and walked out, leaving me alone with the echo of his confession and the terrible knowledge that I'd hurt him. And worse, that I cared. I didn't sleep that night. Instead, I lay in the enormous bed staring at the ceiling, replaying everything. The kiss, the anger, the look on his face when I said he deserved my hatred. Did he? Mateo Valdez was a monster. I'd heard the phone calls, seen the evidence. He ordered deaths like other people ordered coffee. Built an empire on fear and blood and broken families. But he was also the man who'd found me crying over past due bills at 2 a.m. and silently paid every debt without asking for thanks. Who stood between me and his own men when they looked too long. Who learned my favorite foods and left them where I'd find them on bad days. who looked at me like I was the only real thing in his shadow world. God, Carolyn, what are you doing? At 3 a.m., I gave up on sleep and wandered into the sitting room. Someone had stocked the bookshelf. Literary fiction, poetry, even a few cookbooks. All things I'd mentioned loving once, months ago, in passing conversation I didn't think he'd been listening to. He'd been listening to everything. I pulled out a worn copy of 100 Years of Solitude and found a note tucked inside, written in sharp masculine handwriting. Solitude is safer than vulnerability. I used to believe that absolutely. My hands shook holding it. He'd left me pieces of himself hidden like landmines, just waiting for me to find them and understand that whatever this was between us, it wasn't simple. Wasn't just possession or obsession. It was two broken people colliding in the dark, neither of us knowing how to hold on to something without destroying it. I set the book down and went back to bed, the note clutched in my fist. Outside my window, guards patrolled in the darkness, protecting me from an enemy I'd never wanted, trapping me in a war I'd never joined. And somewhere in this massive house, Mateo was probably awake too, staring at his own ceiling, wondering how to save someone who didn't want to be saved, or maybe just wondering if I'd ever forgive him. 3 days passed in tense stalemate. I stayed in my wing. He sent meals through Rosa, along with notes I didn't answer. The soup was yours. I had the kitchen remake your recipe. You should eat. Anger isn't sustenance. I'm sorry, I don't know for what exactly, but I know I am. On the 4th day, I emerged. Not for him, for myself. Because staying locked in that beautiful room felt too much like surrender, and I'd never been good at surrender. The kitchen was empty when I entered at dawn. I immediately started pulling ingredients, planning to cook something elaborate and violent, all chopping in fire and motion to burn out the restless energy eating me alive. I was dicing onions with more force than necessary when his voice came from behind me. You're up early. I didn't turn around. Couldn't sleep. Neither could I. He moved closer. I could track him by the shift in air, the warmth of his presence. I've been wanting to talk to you. So talk. Look at me first. No. A pause. Then, surprisingly, all right. I hadn't expected him to back down. It threw me off enough that I stopped cutting. I owe you an apology, he said. Several, actually. For which part? Kidnapping me? Kissing me without asking? Deciding my entire future? Yes. Simple. Direct. All of it. The onions blurred in front of me. You're not sorry for keeping me here. No, I'm not. His honesty was brutal. I'm sorry for how I did it. For not asking. For making you feel like property instead of... He stopped. Instead of what? I finally turned to face him. He looked rough. Still dressed impeccably. Crisp white shirt, dark slacks. But there were shadows under his eyes. A tightness around his mouth. Instead of someone I care about, he finished quietly. My heart did something complicated in my chest. You don't get to care about me. Not like this. I know, but tell my heart that. He ran a hand over his face. Caroline, I'm not good at this. At wanting things. At having things to lose. The last time I let myself care about someone, my sister, she died because I was too slow, too careless, too human for just 1 second. That wasn't your fault, wasn't it? His eyes were haunted. In this world, caring is a weapon someone else can use. Every person I love becomes a target. Then why not just let me go, I asked, even though I knew the answer. Because you already are a target. He moved to the counter, his hands gripping the edge. And because I'm selfish enough to want you alive more than I want you free. The confession hung between us, terrible and honest. That's not love, I said softly. That's obsession. Maybe. I've never been sure of the difference. I should have been horrified. Should have thrown the knife and run and never looked back. Instead, I asked, did you mean it? About burning the city down for me? He looked at me then, really looked. And I saw the truth blazing in those storm-gray eyes. Every word. That's insane. Yes. It's possessive and toxic, and I know what it is, Caroline. His voice roughened. I know I should let you walk out of here. Find someone normal. Someone who doesn't have a body count that would take days to recite. Someone who can give you a life that doesn't require armed guards and exit strategies. But you won't. No, I won't. He pushed off the counter, closing the distance between us. But I can promise you something else. What? Honesty, transparency, the truth about who I am and what I do. He stopped just short of touching me. You'll never have to wonder what I'm hiding. You'll never have to guess if I'm lying. I'll give you every dark, broken piece of me, and you can decide if it's enough. And if it's not, pain flickered across his face, then I'll let you go. I swear it. Once the Salazars are handled and you're safe, if you want out, I'll open every door myself. I searched his eyes for the lie. Found only raw, desperate truth. You promise. On my sister's grave. The vow landed like a physical thing. Sacred, binding, impossible to break without destroying himself. Okay, I whispered. Okay? Okay, I'll stay. For now. Until this is over. I lifted my chin, met his gaze squarely. But on my terms. I'm not your prisoner, not your property, not your anything until I decide to be. Relief washed over his face, like sunrise. Agreed. And you'll tell me everything? No lies? No protecting me from ugly truths? Everything. And if I ever want to leave, I'll drive you myself. He held out his hand. Deal? I looked at his outstretched palm, scarred, strong, stained with violence I'd never fully understand. Shook it anyway. Deal. His fingers closed around mine, warm and solid. He didn't let go. Caroline? Yeah? Thank you. He said it like I'd just given him the world instead of just a temporary truce. For giving me a chance to prove I'm more than the monster you think I am. You're still a monster, I said. But I didn't pull my hand away. You're just maybe my monster, for now. His smile was small, rare, devastating. For now is enough. The first truth he told me was about the Salazars. We sat in his office, a room I'd never been allowed in before, all dark wood and leather and weapons displayed like art. He poured us both whiskey even though it was barely noon, handed me a glass, and started talking. The Salazar family controls the ports, he began. Everything that moves in or out of the city, drugs, guns, people, they take their cut. They've held that territory for 20 years. My father had an agreement with the old man, Eduardo. Peaceful coexistence. What changed? Eduardo died. His son Miguel took over. Mateo's jaw tightened. Miguel doesn't believe in peace. He believes in dominance. So he's coming for your territory. He already has. 6 of my men dead in the last month. 3 shipments intercepted. 2 of my clubs burned to the ground. He knocked back his whiskey in one swallow. The rose was him declaring open war. Why involve me? I'm nobody. You're in my house. You see my face every day. You know my routines, my habits, my weaknesses. He refilled his glass. In Miguel's mind, you're either a spy or leverage. Either way, you're useful. I'm not a spy. I know. He said it with complete certainty. You're too angry at me to be acting. Despite everything, I almost laughed. Fair. The point is, Miguel won't stop until one of us is dead. And he's willing to kill anyone connected to me to make it happen. Mateo's eyes found mine, including you, especially you, now that he knows I've moved you here. So I made it worse by staying. No, you'd be dead already if you'd left. He leaned forward, elbows on his knees. At least here, I can protect you. Out there, you're just another casualty. I hated that he was right. Tell me about your sister, I said, changing the subject before I could dwell on the danger. He flinched. Why? Because you mentioned her. Because she matters to you. Because if I'm going to stay here, if I'm going to try to understand you, I need to know what shaped you. For a long moment, he didn't speak. just stared at his whiskey like it held answers. Then, her name was Sophia. She was 17 when she died. I was 26. What happened? I was reckless. Thought I could have it all, the power, the empire, and still keep my family safe. His voice went rough. I was meeting with a supplier. Sophia wanted to come. Said she was bored at home. I let her. Thought it would be fine. Just a simple exchange. I didn't interrupt. Just waited. The supplier was working with a rival family. They opened fire the second we walked in. I got Sophia behind a car, told her to stay down. Went to handle it. He emptied his glass again. When I came back, she was dead. Shot through the neck. They'd circled around while I was distracted. Matteo. I held her while she bled out. Watched the light leave her eyes. Listened to her try to tell me it wasn't my fault, even as she choked on her own blood. He set the glass down carefully, like he didn't trust himself not to throw it. That was the last time I let myself care about anyone. Until you. The weight of that confession pressed against my chest. I'm not your redemption, I said quietly. I can't fix what happened to her. I don't want you to fix anything. I just want you alive. He looked at me then, and the raw need in his eyes stole my breath. Is that so wrong? No, I whispered. But it's also not healthy. Probably not. He stood, walked to the window. But I stopped pretending to be healthy a long time ago. I joined him at the window, stood close enough that our shoulders almost touched. Below, guards patrolled in precise patterns, weapons visible, eyes scanning. How do you live like this? I asked. Always waiting for the next attack, never trusting anyone. You get used to it. The paranoia becomes background noise. He glanced at me. Or it did. Now I'm paranoid for two. Lucky me. Lucky me, he corrected. That you're still here. We stood in silence, watching his empire, and for the first time since he trapped me here, I didn't feel entirely like a prisoner. Just someone standing next to another broken person, both of us trying to figure out how to survive the war. The explosion came at 3 a.m. I woke to the sound of shattering glass, and alarms screaming through the house. My heart slammed into my throat as I rolled out of bed. Instinct screaming run, even though I had nowhere to go. My door crashed open. Matteo stood there in dark tactical gear, gun in hand, face set in lethal focus. Get up, now! What's happening? They're here. Move! He grabbed my arm, hauling me toward the door. Stay behind me. Don't let go. We ran through corridors I barely recognized in the dark. Alarms wailing, lights flickering. Other guards materialized from shadows, forming a protective circle around us. Someone was shouting orders in Spanish. Gunfire echoed from somewhere close, too close. Matteo shoved me into what looked like a panic room. Reinforced steel walls, surveillance screens, enough weapons to start a small war. 3 other staff members were already there, huddled in the corner with terrified eyes. Stay here, Matteo ordered. Raphael's outside. Don't open this door for anyone else. Wait. I grabbed his arm before he could leave. What are you doing? Ending this. His eyes were cold, distant. The man I'd been talking to earlier was gone, replaced by the cartel boss who signed death warrants without blinking. Lock it behind me, Matteo! He kissed me, hard, fast, desperate, then pulled away. If I don't come back, don't. I dug my fingers into his arm. Don't you dare say goodbye to me. Something flickered in his face, surprise, maybe, or hope. He nodded once, then disappeared into the chaos. Raphael sealed the door behind him with a heavy clang, and I was left in the dark, listening to gunfire, wondering if I'd just seen Matteo alive for the last time. The screens showed everything. The Salazars had breached the south wall with explosives. 3 vehicles, at least 15 men, all armed to the teeth. They were pushing toward the main house with military precision, taking down guards with brutal efficiency. Matteo was on screen too, leading his own team in a counter-assault. He moved like violence incarnate, fast, lethal, every shot finding its target. I watched him drop 3 men in as many seconds, barely breaking stride. This was what he'd been hiding. Not the fact of violence, but the scale, the cold perfection of it. He wasn't just dangerous, he was a weapon. Madre de Dios, Rosa whispered beside me. She'd been crying quietly in the corner, rosary beads clicking through her fingers. They'll kill everyone. No, they won't. I didn't know where the certainty came from, but I believed it. Mateo won't let that happen. The battle raged for 20 minutes that felt like hours. I watched screens switch between carnage, bodies falling, cars exploding, Mateo's men forming defensive positions. One camera caught Mateo himself in close combat, disarming a Salazar soldier and putting him down with ruthless efficiency. Then screen 4 went dark. Then screen 7. Someone was taking out the cameras systematically, creating blind spots. That's not good, Raphael muttered from his position by the door. His hand tightened on his weapon. They're trying to flank. The lights went out. Emergency lighting kicked in, bathing everything in red. Rosa's prayers got louder. The other staff members, a young maid and an older man from maintenance, pressed closer together. Everyone stay calm, Raphael said, but his voice was tight with tension. Then we heard it. Footsteps in the corridor outside, slow, measured, deliberate. Not running like Mateo's men would be, not urgent. Hunting. Raphael raised his gun, aimed at the door. Get back, all of you, behind the desk. I helped Rosa move, my heart hammering so hard I thought it might crack ribs. The footsteps stopped right outside. Silence. Then, bang, bang, bang on the steel door. Caroline Morales. The voice was smooth, accented, amused. I know you're in there. My name is Miguel Salazar. I think we should talk. Raphael's gun didn't waver. Don't answer him. I'm not here to hurt you, Querida, Miguel continued. I'm here to make you an offer. A better one than what Mateo's giving you. Don't listen, Raphael started. How do you know Mateo isn't keeping you prisoner? Using you? Miguel's voice was poisonously reasonable. I've done my research, Caroline. You're nobody's girlfriend, nobody's love. You're just a cook who got caught in the crossfire. Is that really worth dying for? My throat tightened. He was hitting every insecurity I'd ever had. Open this door, Miguel said. Come with me willingly. I'll let everyone else in there walk away. No one else has to die tonight. He's lying, Raphael hissed. The second that door opens, I know. But I also knew Miguel was right about one thing. I was nobody, just collateral. And people were dying outside because Mateo wanted to keep me like some prized possession. Tick-tock, Carolyn, Miguel sang. My patience has limits. Open the door or I start executing staff. Maybe I'll start with the kitchen workers. I hear you're friendly with them. Rosa's hand found mine in the dark, squeezing hard. I looked at Raphael. If I go out there, you'll die, he said flatly. And Mateo will burn the world down, in that order. But everyone else? Mateo already gave the evacuation order. Staff are being moved to the safe houses. Miguel's bluffing. Relief and terror warred in my chest. How do you know? Because I know Mateo. And he'd never risk you, even to save everyone else. Raphael's eyes met mine in the red emergency lighting. You're not collateral to him, you're everything. Before I could process that, gunfire erupted right outside the door. Miguel's smooth voice turned sharp, shouting orders in Spanish. More gunfire, someone screaming, the heavy thud of bodies hitting the floor. Then, silence. 1 minute, 2. Finally, a voice I recognized. Raphael, it's clear. Open up. Raphael checked the surveillance screen. Camera 9 was still working, showing Mateo standing in a corridor littered with bodies. Blood splattered across his face and tactical vest. Raphael unsealed the door. I rushed out before I could think better of it, nearly tripping over corpses I tried not to look at. Mateo turned, and the lethal coldness in his expression cracked when he saw me. You're okay. He was on me in 2 strides, hands framing my face, searching for injuries. You're okay. I'm fine. My hands covered his, and I felt them trembling, barely, but there. Are you fine? But his eyes told a different story. They were haunted, wild, barely leashed. I heard him talking to you, heard what he said. If he'd gotten through that door. He didn't. Because I shot him through the spine before he could finish setting the charges. Mateo's grip tightened on my face. He was going to blow the door, Caroline, going to take you and kill everyone else anyway. My stomach turned. Is he dead? Not yet. Something dark and vicious crossed Mateo's expression. But he will be. Slowly. Mateo? Don't. His voice turned sharp. Don't ask me to show mercy to the man who tried to take you. Don't ask me to be good right now. I looked at him, really looked, and saw the monster he'd always warned me about. The one who'd killed his way through this house tonight without hesitation. Who was planning torture for a wounded enemy. I should have been horrified. Instead, I pulled him down and kissed him. Not soft, not gentle. Hard and fierce and claiming. Right there in a hallway painted with violence. His hands tangled in my hair, pulling me closer like he could absorb me into his skin. I tasted blood on his lips, not his, and didn't care. When we broke apart, we were both breathing hard. Take me upstairs, I said. Caroline. Now, Mateo, before I change my mind. He searched my eyes, looking for doubt or fear. Whatever he found there made him nod. He swept me up without another word, carrying me through his war-torn house, while his men finished securing the property. Rosa's soft, "Ay Dios" followed us, but I didn't look back. I was done running, done pretending this wasn't inevitable. Tonight I'd choose him, choose this, and deal with the consequences in the morning. He kicked open the door to his bedroom, a place I'd never seen, and set me down carefully like I might shatter. I didn't feel fragile. I felt powerful, electric, alive in a way I'd never experienced. We should talk about this, Mateo said. Even as his hand stayed on my waist, his eyes burning into mine. We've done enough talking. Caroline, you just watched me kill people. You heard what I'm planning to do to Miguel. I know what you are. I stepped closer, eliminating the space between us. I've always known. Stop trying to protect me from the truth. You deserve better than... Let me decide what I deserve. My hands found his vest, started working the buckles. Let me choose you, Mateo. Isn't that what you wanted? His hands covered mine, stopping me. Not like this. Not when you're in shock, when you almost died. I'm not in shock. I met his eyes steadily. I'm clear-headed enough to know that I should walk away from you, that you're dangerous and possessive and exactly the kind of man I swore I'd never fall for. I resumed unbuckling. And I'm choosing you anyway. Why? His voice cracked on the word. Because you see me. It came out whisper soft, the most honest thing I'd ever said. Not the girl I pretend to be, not the armor I wear. You see every angry, scared, broken piece of me, and you still look at me like I'm something precious. You are. His hands came up to frame my face again, thumb brushing my cheekbone. You're the first thing I've wanted to keep alive in 10 years, Caroline. The first thing that makes me want to be more than this. Then be more. With me. Tonight. He kissed me slowly this time, tenderly, like I was sacred. His hands were gentle despite the violence they'd just committed, sliding into my hair, down my spine, pulling me flush against him. Tell me to stop, he murmured against my lips. Any time, any reason. I won't. Caroline. I want this. I want you. I pushed his vest off his shoulders. Stop trying to be noble. I've had noble men. They made me feel small. You make me feel like I could burn down the world. Something feral flashed in his eyes. You could. Then let me start with you. What happened next was hours of revelation, his hands learning every inch of my skin, his mouth following, whispering confessions between kisses about how long he'd wanted this, wanted me, fought himself every single day not to cross this line. I gave as good as I got, tracing the tattoos covering his body, learning the scars that mapped his violence, making him gasp and groan and finally, lose that iron control he wielded like armor. When it was over, when we lay tangled in sheets that smelled like him, both of us breathing hard, he pulled me against his chest and held on like he'd never let go. "I love you," he said into my hair. "I know I shouldn't. I know it's too fast, too intense, too fucking dangerous. But I do." My heart stuttered. "Mateo?" "You don't have to say it back. I just need you to know." His arms tightened around me. "Whatever happens next, whatever this war brings, I need you to know you're not collateral. You're not leverage. You're the reason I'm going to win, because losing you isn't an option I can survive." I turned in his arms, looked up at him. "That's a lot of pressure." "I know, I'm sorry." "Don't be." I kissed him softly. "Just keep me safe. Keep yourself safe. And maybe we'll figure out if this thing between us is love, or just two damaged people clinging to each other in the dark. Either way, I'm yours," he said it like a vow. "For as long as you'll have me." I fell asleep in his arms, listening to his heartbeat, pretending the war outside didn't exist. It was the last peaceful night I'd have for a long time. I woke alone. Sunlight streamed through floor-to-ceiling windows I didn't remember from last night. The bed was cold beside me, but there was a note on the pillow in Mateo's sharp handwriting. "Meeting with the families, back by noon. Rafael is outside your door. Don't leave the estate. I meant what I said last night." I traced the words with my finger, heart doing complicated things. Then reality crashed in. I'd slept with my captor, the man who'd essentially kidnapped me, who killed people for a living, who was keeping me here whether I wanted to stay or not. "But you do want to stay," a traitorous voice whispered. "You chose this. Chose him." My phone, which I suddenly realized I hadn't seen in days, was on the nightstand. When I picked it up, it showed dozens of missed calls from numbers I didn't recognize, and one text from my old agency contact, Maria. "Are you alive? People are asking questions. Call me." My stomach dropped. I pulled on one of Mateo's shirts and padded to the door. Rafael was indeed outside, looking exhausted but alert. "Morning," he said neutrally. "Do you need anything?" My phone. I held it up. "Did you know I had this?" "Mr. Valdez had it secured. Said he'd return it when the threat level decreased." "The threat level just got higher." I showed him Maria's text. "My old agency contact is asking questions. If she thinks something's wrong." "She can't help you," Rafael said bluntly. "No one can, except Mateo." "That's not—" I stopped. Took a breath. "I need to at least tell her I'm alive. Otherwise she might go to the police." "Mr. Valdez wouldn't want—" "I don't care what Mr. Valdez wants." The words came out harder than I intended. "I'm not actually a prisoner here, remember? I can make a phone call." Rafael studied me for a long moment, then surprisingly nodded. "One call, supervised, no location details." "Fine." I called Maria from Mateo's office with Rafael listening. She picked up on the first ring. "Jesus Christ, Caroline, where have you been?" "I'm safe. I just needed to drop off the grid for a bit." "Drop off the grid?" "Girl, your apartment's been cleared out. You haven't checked in with any of your clients, and there are rumors." She lowered her voice. "Dangerous rumors about who you were cooking for." My blood went cold. "What kind of rumors?" "The kind that get people disappeared. Caroline, if you're in trouble." "I'm not." The lie tasted bitter. "I just needed a break, some space to figure things out." "Are you sure? Because I can make some calls, get you protection." "No." Too sharp. I forced myself to soften. "No, Maria, I'm fine. Really, just taking some personal time." She didn't believe me. I could hear it in her silence. "Okay," she finally said. "But if you need anything, anything at all, you call me, day or night. Promise?" "Promise." I hung up feeling sick. Raphael was watching me with something like pity. You shouldn't have lied to her. What was I supposed to say? Sorry, I'm being held by a cartel boss who thinks he loves me and just killed a dozen people to keep me? That would be more honest. Honesty gets people killed in this world. I slumped into Mateo's chair. When will he be back? Soon. The meeting's almost over. What meeting? Raphael hesitated. With the other families, to discuss the Salazar situation. Discuss or decide how to destroy them. Both. I closed my eyes. How many more people are going to die? As many as it takes. Raphael's voice was matter of fact. That's how this works, Caroline. You kill or you get killed. There's no middle ground. There has to be. There has to be something between total war and total submission. Not in Mateo's world, not anymore. Raphael moved to the window. Miguel Salazar declared total war when he breached this house. The other families know it. They're just deciding whether to support Mateo's retaliation or stay neutral. And if they stay neutral, then Mateo fights alone and probably dies. Raphael looked at me. Which means you'd die too. The Salazars would make sure of it. The trap closed tighter. I thought choosing Mateo meant freedom. Freedom to decide, to be seen, to matter. But really, I'd just chosen a different cage. One painted in blood and justified by protection. What have I done? Mateo returned at 1, not noon. He looked exhausted, dangerous, and somehow still magnetic as hell. How'd it go? I asked from my position curled up in his office chair. 3 families pledged support. 2 went neutral. 1. His jaw tightened. 1 will regret their choice. Mateo? I'm ending this, Carolyn. He came around the desk, pulled me to my feet. The Salazars, the threats, all of it. Within a week, you'll be safe. At what cost? Whatever it takes. I pushed against his chest. Not hard, just enough to create space. No, not whatever it takes. Mateo, I won't be the reason you become more of a monster. I'm already a monster. His eyes were hard. Last night didn't change that. It changed me. My voice cracked. I chose you, Mateo. I chose to see past the violence to the man underneath. But if you massacre entire families, if you kill indiscriminately, there won't be anything left to see. Would you prefer I let them come for you? Let them torture you to get to me. Let them prove that anyone I care about is fair game. I'd prefer you find another way. There is no other way, he roared it, slamming his hand on the desk. I flinched, and something in his face crumbled. I'm sorry, I didn't mean, I know, I did. But my heart was still racing. I know you're scared, so am I. But Mateo, if you let this war turn you into everything you hate, you won't just lose me, you'll lose yourself. He sank into his chair, head in his hands. Then what do I do? They won't stop until one of us is dead. So make it just Miguel, not his whole family, not innocence, just him. I knelt beside him. You're smart enough, powerful enough to make that happen. Surgical strike instead of carpet bombing. It's not that simple. Yes, it is. You're just scared that mercy looks like weakness. He looked at me then, and I saw the boy who'd watched his mother die, who'd held his sister as she bled out, who'd learned that love was a weakness someone would exploit. Mercy gets you killed, he whispered. So does becoming the thing everyone fears. I took his hand. Please, Mateo, for me, for us, find another way. He was quiet for a long time. Then, I'll try. But if they come for you again, then you do what you have to. But until then, be the man I fell for. Not the monster everyone expects. He pulled me into his lap, buried his face in my neck. You're asking me to be someone I'm not sure I know how to be. Then learn. I kissed his temple. We'll figure it out together. We sat like that for a long time. 2 broken people trying to find a way forward that didn't end in ashes. I wanted to believe we could. But the war had its own plans. The call came at 4 a.m., 2 days later. Mateo's phone lit up the darkness. He answered before the first ring finished. Already moving, already alert. What? His voice was clipped, lethal. Then, where? I sat up, heart pounding. What's wrong? He was already dressing, pulling on tactical gear from the closet. They have Rosa. Took her from her sister's house 3 hours ago. The bottom dropped out of my stomach. Oh God, it's bait. They want me to come for her. He checked his gun, his movements economical, precise. Which means they're expecting me. Then don't go. Send your men. She's been with my family for 30 years. Held me when my mother died. I'm not sending anyone else. He looked at me, and his eyes were already somewhere else. Somewhere cold and final. Stay here. Raphael and 2 others will guard you. If I'm not back by dawn. Don't. I grabbed his arm. Don't you dare talk like you're not coming back. Caroline, whatever you're about to say, whatever goodbye you're planning, swallow it. I pulled him down, kissed him hard. Come back to me, that's an order. A flicker of something soft in his eyes. An order? From the woman you love, the one you said you'd burn the world for. So go save Rosa, kill whoever took her, and come home. My voice didn't shake. And Mateo? No mercy this time. They've earned what's coming. He kissed me once more, fierce and desperate. Then pulled away. Locked the door behind me. I did. Then I sat in the dark, watching the security feeds Raphael had shown me how to access, and waited for either my future or his funeral. The warehouse was on the docks. Obvious trap, Miguel's style written all over it. Mateo took 12 men. I watched them approach on camera feed 6, moving like smoke through shadows. They breached from 3 points simultaneously. North door, south, east window. Gunfire erupted immediately. The Salazars had been ready, but not ready enough. Mateo's team was faster, deadlier, moving with the precision of men who'd trained together for years. Bodies dropped. The camera angles were bad, grainy, but I saw enough. Saw Mateo put down 4 men in as many seconds. Saw him take a bullet to the shoulder and barely slow down. Saw him fight his way to the center of the warehouse, where Rosa was tied to a chair, beaten but alive. Then Miguel appeared on camera. He was grinning, gun pointed at Rosa's head, clearly saying something that made Mateo freeze. Even through the pixelated feed, I could see the standoff, Miguel knowing he was dead either way, just trying to take someone down with him. The shot came from nowhere. Miguel's head snapped back, and he dropped like a puppet with cut strings. One of Mateo's men, the sniper who must have been positioned outside, had ended it. Mateo cut Rosa free, and I watched him carry her out like she weighed nothing, his men forming a protective circle as they evacuated. I was crying and didn't know when I'd started. They were coming home. He was coming home. The medical team met them at the estate. Rosa was battered but stable, already barking orders at people trying to fuss over her. Mateo's shoulder wound was being stitched up when I burst into the medical room. Out, I told the doctor. Miss, I need to finish. Out. Now, I'll do it. Mateo's eyes met mine. He nodded at the doctor, who reluctantly left supplies and departed. I picked up the needle with shaking hands. You got shot. Barely grazed. You almost died. But I didn't. He caught my wrist as I tried to continue stitching. Caroline? You could have left her, sent someone else, avoided the trap entirely. My voice broke. Why do you have to be so goddamn noble when it comes to everyone except yourself? Because they matter. The people who've stood by me, who've been loyal, I owe them. His thumb brushed my racing pulse. Same way I owe you. Same way I'd tear apart the world if someone touched you. Miguel's dead. Yes. Is it over? It's over. He pulled me onto his lap carefully, mindful of his injury. The Salazar family is finished. Their territory's being absorbed by the families that supported me. Your name's been scrubbed from every database they had. You're safe now. The relief was crushing. So I can leave? His arms tightened around me. Is that what you want? I'd asked myself that question 100 times in the past 2 days. Asked it every time I paced his room. Worried myself sick. Imagined a future where he didn't come home. No, I whispered. I want to stay. If you'll have me. If I'll have you, he laughed, raw and disbelieving. Caroline, you're the only thing I want. The only thing that makes this life bearable. I'd give up everything, the empire, the power, all of it, if it meant keeping you. You don't have to give up anything. I cupped his face, thumbs brushing his cheekbones. Just be better, be more. For me, for us. For the life we could build that isn't drenched in blood. I can try. His forehead pressed against mine. I'll probably fail sometimes. The violence, it's part of me. I can't erase it. I'm not asking you to erase it. Just control it, channel it. Use it only when you have to, not because it's easy. I kissed him softly. Can you do that? For you? Yes, anything for you. Then that's enough. I pulled back, picked up the needle again. Now hold still. I'm finishing these stitches and then we're sleeping for about 12 hours. Bossy. You love it. I love you. He said it simply, honestly, like it was the most fundamental truth in his universe. I love you too, I whispered. And finally let myself believe it might be true. 3 months later, I was in the kitchen. Not because I had to be, not because it was my job. Because I missed it, missed the alchemy of spices and heat, the meditation of chopping and stirring, the simple joy of feeding people. The estate had changed. Fewer guards, more staff. Matteo had been true to his word, transitioning away from the violent day-to-day operations, delegating to trusted lieutenants while he focused on legitimate business ventures. Money laundering legalized through real estate, protection rackets converted to actual security firms. It wasn't clean, probably never would be, but it was better. I was making mole, abuela's recipe, the one that took 6 hours and 17 ingredients and tasted like home. Matteo appeared in the doorway mid-afternoon, still in a suit from whatever meeting he'd just left, watching me with that expression he got sometimes. The one that said he still couldn't believe I was real. Smells good, he said. Tastes better, come here. He crossed to me and I held up a spoon. He tasted and his eyes closed in appreciation. Perfect. Always is. I set the spoon down, turned to face him. How was the meeting? Productive. The Fitzgerald family wants to partner on the waterfront development. He pulled me against him, hands settling on my waist. Legitimate money, no blood attached. Look at you, a real businessman. Don't get used to it, I'm still dangerous. I'm counting on it. I kissed him lightly. Keeps things interesting. We'd found our rhythm over these months. He was still possessive, still overprotective, still growled at any man who looked at me too long. But he was also softer, quicker to laugh, slower to anger, more willing to compromise. And I was different too. Stronger, more confident. I'd started taking online culinary courses, planning to maybe, someday, open my own restaurant. Matteo had already offered to fund it, but I'd refused. This was something I needed to build myself. I have something for you, he said, reaching into his jacket pocket. Matteo, we talked about this. You can't keep buying me things. It's not new. He pulled out a small velvet box. It was my grandmother's, then my mother's. Sophia was supposed to have it next, but my breath caught. Matteo? I'm not proposing, not yet. He opened the box, revealing an antique ring, rose gold with a single diamond, delicate and timeless. But I'm asking if you'd consider it. Someday, when you're ready, if you're ready. I stared at the ring, at him, at the life we'd somehow built from violence and obsession, and two people too stubborn to give up on each other. I'm already ready, I heard myself say. His head snapped up. What? I said I'm ready. Ask me properly. He dropped to one knee right there in the kitchen, still holding the box, looking at me like I just handed him the world. Caroline Morales, will you marry me? Will you choose me every day, even when I'm difficult? Even when the past comes calling? Even when... Yes, I pulled him up, kissed him before he could finish. Yes to all of it. The good, the bad, the complicated. I choose you, Mateo Valdez, today and every day after. He slid the ring onto my finger, perfect fit, like it had been waiting for me. Then he kissed me slow and deep, pouring every emotion he didn't have words for into the press of his lips. When we finally broke apart, he was smiling. Really, truly smiling. We should celebrate, he murmured against my mouth. We should. But first, I need to finish this mole, or it'll burn. He laughed, full and genuine, and it was the most beautiful sound I'd ever heard. Then I'll help. He rolled up his sleeves. Tell me what to do, chef. Start with the chocolate. 2 ounces, melted carefully. We cooked together in comfortable silence, moving around each other like we'd done this for years instead of months. And maybe we had in a way. Every meal I'd made in this kitchen had been for him, even before I'd admitted it to myself. Later, after the mole was done, after we'd eaten with Rosa and Rafael and the core staff who'd become something like family, after toasts and tears and promises, Mateo led me to the garden. There was a rose bush I'd never noticed before. White roses, pristine and perfect, without a drop of blood anywhere. I had them planted last month, he said, to replace the memory of the other one, the one they left as a threat. I touched a petal, soft as silk. They're beautiful. So are you. He wrapped his arms around me from behind. I know I'll never deserve you. I know my past will always cast shadows. But Caroline, you make me want to be worthy. You make me want to be more than the sum of my sins. You already are. I leaned back against him, both of us watching the sun set over his empire, our empire now. And I'll spend the rest of my life proving it to you. The rest of your life. He nuzzled my neck. That's a long time. Better get started then. He turned me in his arms, and we kissed there among the white roses. 2 people who'd found each other in the darkest places, and decided to build something light. The war was over. The monster had learned to be human. And the girl who'd tried to resign? She'd found exactly where she belonged. I placed the positive pregnancy test on the kitchen counter next to his morning coffee, exactly where I'd left my resignation letter 18 months ago. History rhyming, Abuela would have said. Mateo found it at dawn, same as before. I watched from the doorway as he picked it up, stared at it, went very, very still. Then he crossed the kitchen in 3 strides and crushed me against him. You're sure? His voice was rough with emotion. 3 tests, all positive. Caroline, he pulled back, framing my face with trembling hands. I'm terrified. Good, so am I. I covered his hands with mine. But we'll figure it out, together. I don't know how to be a father. What if I turn them into... You won't. I said it with absolute certainty. Because you're not your father, you're not even the man you were when we met. You're better, kinder, and you'll be an amazing father. His eyes were wet. How do you know? Because I've watched you choose love over violence every day for a year. Watched you build instead of destroy. Watched you prove that people can change. I placed his hand on my still flat stomach. This baby is already lucky to have you. He kissed me then, soft and reverent. And I felt the last of his darkness give way to something that looked a lot like hope. Behind us, Rosa appeared in the doorway, took one look at us, and burst into tears of joy. Dios mío, a baby, she rushed forward, pulling us both into a fierce hug. Mateo, you're going to be a papa. The news spread through the house like wildfire. By noon, the core staff had gathered in the kitchen, our kitchen, to celebrate. Rafael brought champagne. The guards high-fived each other. Even Mateo's stone-faced lieutenant cracked a smile. And in the middle of it all, Mateo held me close and whispered in my ear, "Thank you." For what? For staying, for choosing me, for giving me something worth living for instead of dying for. I kissed him in front of everyone, not caring who saw. Always. That night, we lay in bed with his hand on my stomach, both of us imagining the future, a child who would grow up knowing both worlds, the darkness their father came from and the light we'd built together. What if I mess this up? He asked quietly. Then we fix it. That's what we do. We? We. I laced my fingers through his. I'm not going anywhere, Mateo. You're stuck with me. Promise? On Abuela's grave, I turned to look at him. I resigned once, never again. He smiled, that rare, genuine smile reserved only for me. Never again. Outside our window, white roses bloomed in the moonlight, clean, perfect, untouched by blood. A sign that we'd survived, that we'd won, that sometimes the girl who tries to leave finds her way home instead. Thank you so much for watching. If this story touched your heart, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. Your support helps me bring you even more emotional, heartwarming stories filled with love, tension, and unforgettable moments. Stay tuned. More beautiful stories are on the way.